Sugar Sean O'Malley showed us why he's the champion. He put on a masterclass performance against Chito. He kept the pace for 5 rounds. He landed so many clean shots. I know Chito is not the hardest opponent, but this was a title fight, and he defended his title, and he did it very, very well. He looked great in there, and he showed us why he is the champ. No questions to be asked. I talked about the rest of the fights at UFC 299, so let's get right into it. Hey guys, welcome to the False Line Podcast here with episode 200. Guys, we've made it to 200 episodes. Yes, 200 episodes. I know a year ago probably we resetted the 191, 102, all that stuff. I started at 101, 102, like that was the first episode. Then we worked our way to 100, and then we did it again at 101, 102, whatever, right? And now we are officially at 200. So now the episodes will be 201, 203, 210. So pretty cool that I and the channel and the people that have been on the podcast before, we made it happen at 200 episodes, a big milestone. And it's pretty cool that I'm recording this on my birthday, to be honest with you, now that I'm thinking about it. I couldn't ask for anything else that I've been able to accomplish 200 episodes today on my birthday. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm very thankful, that I've stuck it through. And just haven't gave up on this dream that I have on the podcast. And I just want to keep it going. I want to make entertaining content. I want to make good content. I've always said that, and I want to focus on that. And I just want to entertain people and show you guys a good time and just talk about fighting, right? Like entertainment, fighting, like that's it. So, and also just thank you guys to everyone who has tuned in to the podcast, whether it's episode the first one, the middle one, the last one. I don't care which one it was, but if you have listened or ever clicked on a video or a podcast, audio, whatever, on the channel, anything like that, I do appreciate that. It means the world to me, and it makes me happy. I know I'm not the most engaging person in the comments. It's really hard for me because there's a lot of stuff in there, and a lot of it's bad. Some of it's good, but, when you have an hour or 2 hours left in your day, do I want to spend my time looking at 90% negative comments and looking for one good one? Or do I just want to enjoy my time? And that's where I find myself not, replying to the comments. So apologize about that, but I'm trying to get better at it and looking at them and looking for some good ones there. But I hope you guys enjoyed UFC 199 because that shit was fire. It was epic, and it was a banger of a card. Didn't disappoint at all, one bit. The only thing that I will say that was strange to me, that this is the first UFC card in a while that I am not emotionally invested like that. Like I was just chilling the whole time. Obviously the last fight was fucking awesome, and I kind of, was emotionally there, but it was just the main event, and the hype around it was just awesome, and it got to me, right? But most of the time, once the second fight or the first fight in the card gets going, I get real nervous, I get cold, or my heart rate goes up. I start tripping out a little bit, and it's just me being a fan. And on this one, I was just calm and not saying like I didn't care, but I was just like, damn, like I just get to watch fucking fights, and that's it. Versus if Charles was fighting or Moreno was fighting, I'm like really looking like, no, you're fucking it up, or like don't lose, or don't get knocked out type shit. Or whoever I'm rooting for at the moment, right? Yeah, or that I'm emotionally invested at the moment or on this fight. So it was pretty strange that happened. I wasn't like emotionally just invested on much of these fighters. The only one that I really, really cared about was Gilbert Burns, if I'm being honest. But that was it. I'm a fan of Sugar, but nothing crazy. I'm not a fan of, you could say his attitude or the way he approaches certain situations, but that's who he is. And, I don't gotta like it, but I'm a fan of his style of fighting and how he kicks ass. So, yeah. And Dustin Poirier the same way. I think he's a badass fighter. Cool. But not like that's my guy, right? I mean, my guy at the division is Charles, really. So, yeah, I mean, it was a banger, and I was just happy that I could just sit back and literally watch these people go at it without the emotions, without the bias, you could say, things like that. So it was awesome to see, and I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I watched I watched a few of the prelims fight. I watched a little bit of the Gamrot fight, which I'm not a fan of Gamrot, if I'm being honest. Sorry to that guy. I saw the co-main of the prelims. I know there were two females, and then Curtis Blades knocking out Dalton Almeida, that a lot of the MMA community was happy about. And I know I've made a video that went kind of viral on YouTube, you could say. And I said how I hate, this on the UFC, and it was just about Almeida going for the takedowns and just wrestling. And that's what his game plan was versus Curtis Blades. And then he gets his ass knocked out when he's trying to get the takedown, and he hits him with the hammer fist. A lot of people were saying that he got a hook when he was coming in. For you guys, I know I ain't tripping. I know I'm right here because Curtis Blades said it himself. He didn't go for a hook. He was trying to basically do something. I don't know what kind of move or grapple exchange he was trying to do, but he was trying to adjust something. He didn't try and hit him. He tried to adjust something. He comes back over the hand and then hits him, I think with the other hand, something like that. But he didn't hit him with no hook when he was coming in. It would have been dope if he did, but he didn't. So I just want to put that out there. But yeah, 299 was a fucking banger. It was awesome. It didn't disappoint. The hype was real. The hype was there. And I can't wait because UFC 300 is next, and that card's going to be even better. And I don't care what nobody says. Nobody says, but UFC 300 is going to be like twice as better. It just is, right? It's just the caliber of the fights are on a different level, man. They're just on a different level. 299, they did it right. Bangers, bangers, bangers. Yeah, and unfortunately, we do have about 3 or 4 weeks of not the most exciting fight nights. So that's what happens when you get 2 back-to-back set cards, but it is what it is, man. So it's all good. So let's see, anything. I will say that I was almost perfect for the night. The only fight I got wrong was Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della, Maddalena. And I mean, like I said, Gilbert Burns is my guy, so I had to root for him, and I knew there was a high chance of what had happened was going to happen, and it did. So it is what it is. But let's get started. We got Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. This fight was good, went to 3 rounds. And I was impressed by Song. I didn't know he had that power. I didn't know he was that fast. So it was nice to see, and I just love to see a young guy compete at that level and do really good. I know he fell short, but he did really good, and I mean, his future's bright. And for Petr, he's a little bit on the older side than Song, and a little bit, towards not necessarily the end, but just further in his career in the UFC. So it was a rough win for Petr Yan. I expected more. I thought he was gonna leave less questions out, you could say, for Yan. Like, hey, I was clearly the better guy in this fight. And it wasn't like that. He was slightly better than Yang, and a lot of people thought Yang could have won that fight. So it could have went both ways. But yeah, I expected more from Yan. I just expected more, you could say. I just expected a little bit more dominance in certain aspects of the fight. He got caught with a few things, and Yang was able to get a Song. Song couldn't. He was just getting out the way, countering nice. So I just expected more from Yan. That was it. I was hoping that he just could have shown more to show why he's worth possibly being a title shot contender again. But after the fight with Song, I was like, man, I don't know, bro. Like, I just don't know, I wanted him to be up there, but I got to be honest with myself. And maybe a fight with, I don't even know who he could fight, to be honest with you. He can run it with Chito. He can run it with Cody. But he puts himself in a really difficult situation by not making it very, very, very clear that he won that fight. And for Song, I mean, the future's bright for him. He's young. He can fight anybody in the rankings. All he needs to do is just work his way up and just make small adjustments where he could have beat Yan because he did really good. He did really, really well. So his future's bright. I'll be looking forward to watching him fight in the future, to be honest with you. So that's that. Like I said, just expected more from Yan. That was it. I expected just him to show us why he could be champion one day again. But I didn't feel like he showed us that. So, and it sucks saying that because I was rooting for Yan. All right, so we had Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della, Maddalena. Right after that, now this fight was good, man. Gilbert Burns, I expected more as well. I thought he was gonna be able to scrap with Jack, but Jack was so smooth. He's so silky in there. He was in his element, man, and it was nice to see. And I'm a fan. I love watching a fighter just be in his own world when he's fighting. And you just know, like same thing with Sean when he was in there with Chito. Like you and for Jack, he's just in his own world, just fighting, just in his element, just moving nice, picking his punches nice, moving just so beautiful in the octagon. And when you watch this Jack doing this, boom, moving, hitting, picking, and be able to reverse some takedowns or get out of some situations on the ground, I mean, it's just like, it's beautiful. It's priceless. It's right on point, right on the money. And I was just like, fuck, man, this guy Jack's pretty good. And I didn't expect Jack to do so good. You know, the way he looked against Kevin Holland, I was like, no, Gilbert Burns is a dog and this and that. Like, Gilbert Burns has all the weapons. And Jack, you know, struggled with Kevin and barely beat Kevin. Yes, he landed a lot of good punches, but Kevin was able to put some good punches on him as well. And I thought Kevin could have won that fight. Like, it was a 50-50 fight. Obviously, I do think Gilbert Burns was the harder fight. And to be able to do that to Gilbert Burns, I mean, no, we can't say shit. We really can't. And for the people that are hating, you guys are fucking ridiculous for hating, right? Like, I don't understand what is there to hate. But that was coming into the fight. Like, I was just like, Jack's, you know, doesn't really got it like that. He don't got it. He goes in there and does that to Gilbert Burns. I was just like, shit. Like, for real, like, fuck. And for Gilbert Burns, it just hurts me because he's on the older side now. And that was probably, and I hate saying this, but that was probably his last big opportunity to get anywhere near a title shot. Now, you probably have to get 2 big wins to jump into that conversation. And that's a lot to ask for when you're, I believe, 37, coming off an injury like that. We don't really know how healthy he is physically, right? So it really, really sucks for Gilbert Burns. But let's talk about the fight, man. Obviously, Jack Della doing his thing. Gilbert Burns having success on the ground, landing a few good punches. But Jack, every time he throws, he was just landing. And that's what I love to see. And I hate it because I was going for Gilbert, but I love to see it, bro. I love to see somebody just be fucking good at what they do. You know, and that's why people call me a hater. I ain't no fucking hater, bro. Like, I got my picks, I'm biased, and that's it. But I'm going to give my flowers when the flowers are due. And Jack deserves his flowers. And like I said, anyone who's fucking hating on Jack, you guys are ridiculous. That man put up a good fight, a good fucking game plan as well. Because his takedown defense was on fucking point. And to be able to get out of the situation that he was in before he got that knee, gets out of there, hits him with that fucking knee because he's coming in, and then just finishes him, bro. Like, that was beautiful, and that was a game plan. Very strategic from Jack and his team. And, I mean, it was on point, bro. Like, that shit was crazy. So, I'm very happy for Jack. Like I said, I wasn't a fan after the Kevin. I was like, nah. Like, just nah. Comes into this fight, and he does that to Gilbert Burns. And I'm like, okay, you know, you're good, brother. You are good. He calls out Shavkat Rakhmonov, right? The guy who's undefeated as fuck, has finished every guy in the UFC, and I think everyone else on his list of beating guys. So to call out a guy like that, I'm like, bruh, this guy has some balls. Straight up. No one's calling out. You don't call, like, especially a guy who's not the champion, right? You calling out the number 2, number 3 guy, right? Like the number 3 ranked guy. You got some balls, bro, especially the fact that he's on a crazy streak. I think it's 17 or 18 fights undefeated with 100% finishing rate. You calling that guy out like that? I mean, you gotta give it to Jack, man. He puts out a performance. I think the call out was just perfect, and you don't have to give him that fight. I'll get to that in a second, but you got to respect that, right? So I'm very happy for Jack, and now I am looking forward to it, and now I am with Jack. I'm like, okay, bro, you got it. You're good. You're solid. I think you're that guy, or you could be that guy. So it sucks for Gilbert. I thought he was going to do better, but Jack was just a better guy in there. I think he was trying a little too hard to take it to the ground. I was expecting more of just an exchange. You know, I expected these guys to go at it each other on the feet, but I think at one point Gilbert Burns realized that Jack was just too good at picking his punches, and he just resorted to go to the ground. So, and then it actually just kind of backfired on him, to be honest with you. So pretty good knee to the face for JDM, and a good finish. Beautiful finish, and what a statement for him to make. So again, happy for him. He calls out Shafkat, right? So that's pretty good. Now, I don't know if you necessarily give that fight to Jack because Leon Edwards needed to defend his title against Shafkat or Belal Muhammad. There is no exceptions. No exceptions. I would think they gave the shot to Belal Muhammad first, but I wouldn't be surprised if they give it to Shafkat. I don't really care who goes first, you know. I really don't. I think it sucks more for Belal Muhammad though, because it seems like he's been the one waiting in line the longest. If I'm being honest, it just seems that way, that he's been waiting in line the longest. So it feels like he should be first in line for the title shot against Leon Edwards, and you could do the Shafkat and JDM fight. The thing is that Shafkat is already worth a title shot, and if he loses against Jack is worthy of a title shot, and is Shafkat not? And same thing with the Belal Muhammad fight. Well, if Jack fights Belal Muhammad and Belal Muhammad loses, he doesn't get his title shot anymore, and Jack does. So for Jack, he's kind of becoming the boogeyman, right? And is going to take your position away from the title shot. And that's what he wants. He wants to take a title shot from somebody, whether it's Shafkat or Belal Muhammad. So I do think that, for Jack Della, I think if he gets one more good win against a top 5 guy, there's no question that he's next for a title shot. And it makes just the division so exciting, if I'm being honest. And I'm just excited to see what happens in that weight class. Let me see. So I don't know, man. For JDM, I just hope he fights one of those guys, and you can say, hops in on another level and challenges himself and see how he does. So pretty good, and I hope we just see him fight later this year against one of those top 5 guys. And for Gilbert Burns, man, you just got to get back on the boat. Just got to get back on the boat and go back to the whiteboard and figure it out. Just got to figure it out and just make decisions. Just make the best decisions for your career and for your health. So I really hope we can see Gilbert Burns back in the top, but I just find it very, very difficult for Gilbert Burns to bounce back and just have a good run, you can say, just at the age. And it's just everything's against him, right? So, but I love Gilbert Burns. He's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. Been watching him for a few years now, and he's always just been delivering fucking good fights. So Gilbert Burns is my guy. I love Gilbert Burns, but it sucks that the better man won that night, but it is what it is. Then we have Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. This fight was good. I was looking forward to it. This one, I was literally removed all feelings, pure entertainment on TV, and just was watching, and then I had fun watching. This fight was fun. A lot of people are hating on Michael Venom Page. I get it. The dude might be cringe. He reminds me of Izzy. He's on the same cringe level as Israel Adesanya when he's in the octagon, like, if I'm being honest. If not a little bit more, because he'd be dancing in the octagon. But, yeah, like, that might be cringe, but this guy was coming from Bellator. He did bare knuckle. He did a fight in bare knuckle. I don't know how many fights he had there, but I know he fought Mike Perry. And then he goes, now in the UFC. To be goofy or to do those taunts in the octagon in the UFC is the highest, and I say that in quotation marks because it's the most popular, but we don't know. Ideally, it's the better fighters of any organization, right? It's the elite of the elite. That's what it seems like the UFC is, right? So this guy comes into the UFC against what Holland was ranked number 12 or 11, something like that. And he's just beating the shit out of Kevin Holland. And he's dancing. He's having fun. And, and people were mad about that. And I'm like, bro, like, if you're that good and that's your style, who cares? Like, if I'm Michael, who cares? Who fucking cares? Let Venom Page do his fucking thing. Let him dance. Let him throw Pokemon balls. Let him do his little weird, what is it called? Fuck. Anime things. Like, let him have fun. He's having fun in there. And again, I just want to see a guy in his own element. He's doing what he loves, and he's just expressing himself in the octagon. It might seem a bit disrespectful to his opponent, yes, but for Michael Venom Page, he's in a fight where he could lose his life, and he wants to just also have fun and just beat someone's ass. That's all he wants to do. So if he dances a little bit or taunts a little bit, who gives a fuck? That's how I feel. So it's weird that the hate's there for Michael Venom Page. His first fight in the UFC, and he fights the number 12 ranked guy in the division that we all know, Kevin Holland. Like, if you can't beat Kevin Holland, you don't deserve to be in the top 10. Kevin Holland, he's aware he doesn't want to win a championship, but he just wants to kick ass and make some money. And he's really good at it, and that's why he's ranked number 12 or 11 or 13, whatever it is. So if you can't beat Kevin Holland, you have no business talking about titles or any of that shit. So he goes in there, it beats the fuck out of Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland has no answers. No answers. So for people to talk this shit about Michael Venom Page, I'm like, get the fuck out of my face, bro. Like, you guys are weird. The disrespect is weird. You know, I get it. He's cringe or he's doing his little moves and might be disrespectful, things like that. But we watch the UFC for entertainment, man. And obviously to see high level MMA. But that's why we watch. So I think Michael Venom Page did his thing. He did really good. And well deserved W. And I think a good way to start your UFC career. It sucks that Michael Venom Page is on the older side. I think he's 36, right? So, but you never know, man. I would love to see him do really good, you know, just to come over to the UFC and find himself in really good situations. And maybe a title shot, maybe. But he will make some pretty good money. His stock will rise, especially after Saturday on pay-per-view, on $2.99, on a really big card. So he should get a little bit more clout. Should get a little bit more brand deals, hopefully. Do some podcasts here and there. You're part of the UFC, one of the biggest MMA organizations. So it's all good for Michael Venom Page. You know, he's a character, man. So it's cool. I liked it. I know my girl was like, he's sloppy. He's not that good. Like, kind of hating as well. And I get it. But I thought he did good. I thought he did well. And he beat the shit out of Kevin Holland. So we can't deny that. He shut out Kevin Holland. We can't deny that. So you got to give him that. He did real well. So people are talking about what's next for Michael Venom Page. A lot of people want to see him fight Wonder Boy because of the karate stance that Wonder Boy has, or the background, you could say, and the karate stance kind of that Michael Venom Page, he stands like in a karate sideways stance. So that's why people want the Wonder Boy fight. But I want to say the page is Ben Davis on Twitter. He did say, fuck it, Michael Venom Page, Ian Gary. And I said, bro, that would be fucking fire. Imagine Venom Page versus Ian Gary. The shit that they would say to each other, and they're both tall and long, and it would be a hell of a fight. It would be good. I would like to see it, man. I really would. So Michael Venom Page versus Ian Gary or Wonder Boy would be awesome, to be honest with you. So, you know, it would be cool and funny if Michael Venom Page beat the shit out of Ian Gary and took his spot, because I know Ian Gary is trying to make a pretty good run to the title. So, but who knows, man? It's exciting. I'm excited to see Venom Page in the UFC and see what he can accomplish. And there's some good fights for him as well. And again, makes the division just fun. More entertainment, more good fights. And that's what I like about this. So hopefully we get to see MVP fight one of those two guys, Ian Gary or Wonder Boy. But either one, I would be really happy with. And for Kevin Holland, well, he'll just fight the next guy in line, and he'll probably beat him, to be honest with you. So he'll do good, and he'll stick around. You know, Kevin Holland's not going away, and he's just a fan favorite, man. He's awesome. All right. So let's get into the co-main event. Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. I learned how to say his name right over the weekend. Heard it a few times and was practicing. So Dustin Poirier, let's talk about him for a quick second, man, because I don't think I'm going to say why Dustin Poirier deserves his title shot. And I think there's just no questions to be asked that he needs to fight Islam Makhachev in June. Okay. And I'll get to that in a second. Before you guys call me crazy or delusional or things like that. But Dustin Poirier, we know his resume, right? And he just lost to Justin Gaethje, got knocked the fuck out by a nice, beautiful leg kick, and went to sleep. Pretty much it. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje been very vocal. They don't want to take. I think Justin Gaethje, especially, they don't want to take these fights against these upcoming guys. They want to be fighting for high level, and possibly just to work towards a title. Fights that make sense for their careers, and it makes sense. I get it. Benoit, I want to say he was ranked 11, if I'm not mistaken. Benoit has been knocking out everybody, has been finishing everybody. Not knocking out everybody, I'm sorry, before you guys get on my ass. He's been finishing everybody that he's been, I think his last, I don't know, I'm not even going to say it, but his last few fights has a pretty good finishing rate. If I think it's 100. But very scary guy, especially the last knockout against, I think it's Favela. He fucking cut off the octagon with his leg, just and put that boy to sleep. So you see that, and all the guys at 155, they're probably like, Gamrot's probably like, fuck that. Fazeev, well, he's injured, but he's probably like, fuck that. Gaethje's probably like, fuck that. Arman's probably like, fuck that. Benil's probably like, fuck that. All those guys are like, fuck that guy. Like, I'm not fighting him. I need to fight one more other guy that will give me the title shot. If I beat Arman, if I beat Charles, if I beat Dustin, if I beat Gaethje, that will give me my title shot. Not if I beat Benoit. I got a lot to lose in that fight, so I'm not fighting Benoit. But Dustin Poirier, being the fucking gentleman that he is, and made it clear that Eddie Alvarez gave him his chance. So Dustin Poirier gave Benoit Saint-Denis his fucking opportunity, and Dustin Poirier is a G for that shit. All respects to that guy for that. So he takes the fight. Everything to lose. If he loses this fight, we're talking about Dustin Poirier retiring. We're talking about 2 fights in a row. Dustin Poirier has lost 2 fights in a row. He has never lost 2 fights in a row since like 2012 or some shit like that, right? We're talking all about Dustin Poirier at the end of his career. He's done. It's possibly over. What else could he do? Who else could he fight? That's what the conversations are if Dustin Poirier would have lost his fight. And I don't think people understand or grasp that Dustin Poirier could have lost a lot that night, and he possibly could have retired. People were talking about on Twitter, this could be Dustin Poirier's last fight. This is the end of Poirier. I was seeing like sad posts, right? Like, we're going to miss Dustin Poirier. And kind of already building this narrative that if he loses, it's kind of the end. And it kind of was, but I was like, there's just no way. Dustin Poirier's still got a little bit more in him. And I get it, you get knocked out like that, it makes sense, right? People are going to talk and say all these things. So Dustin Poirier, man, taking the fight, and we're all shocked, like, fuck, Dustin Poirier's going to take this fight? He said he wasn't even going to fight at 299. He said he wanted to fight at 300. Like that, we knew that Dustin Poirier said that, and all of a sudden he's taking this fight against Benoit Saint-Denis. And then on top of that, later the drama that came out that the fight wasn't signed and things like that, right? There was still more drama behind all that shit. So, Dustin Poirier, and I'm just trying to make you guys aware of the decision that Dustin Poirier made for himself and the gamble that he fucking took. And the reason why he took this fucking fight, I'm sure he got a good bag, but if Arman, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, right? Those 4 names are fighting at UFC 300. And the real title contenders right now for Islam Makhachev is Charles Oliveira, you're running back with him, and Justin Gaethje for knocking out Dustin Poirier. Those guys were like, okay, one of those guys need to fight Islam Makhachev next. We thought we were going to get that at UFC 300. We thought we were going to get Charles Islam booked for 300, if not 299 or 298. Like, we thought that's what was going to happen. But now those guys are all busy in April. Islam's not fucking fighting. Islam is saying, well, not even saying yet because he doesn't say this yet. But so those guys are booked for April. Dustin Poirier has his fight in March. Yeah, in March or March, right? Yeah, March. Are we? Yeah. Okay, I'm tripping. On March, and then Islam, he doesn't have a fight booked. And I was like, well, fuck. If these 4 guys and myself are already fighting, and Islam's not, that means he's going to be free for the summer. And if I'm the first one to fight, and I basically have a month to rest before these guys fight, and those guys are going into wars with their opponents, and luckily Dustin Poirier didn't take no damage like that. Dustin Poirier said, fuck, well, if I can get away with the nice win, a nice clean knockout or something like that, don't get too roughed up too much, and put a good performance, I could get lucky. I could find myself in the right situation at the right, or you might say he could find himself at the right place at the right time. And I think that's the situation that he's in now, right? So Dustin Poirier gambled on himself tonight. Let's talk about the fight real quick before we get into more of a Dustin Poirier and what's next for the guys. So going to this fight, I mean, I'm scared. I'm like, there's no way this fight goes to 3 rounds. There's no way. And Benoit is just putting it on Dustin Poirier. Putting it on Dustin. And I'm like, fuck. Like that there, here we go. Benoit was just doing real well and just smothering Dustin, and then in the clinch was landing a few good punches. And overall, I mean, Benoit won the first round in my opinion, and I thought he was winning the second round until he got caught. But you go into the second round, Dustin Poirier, doing his thing with the guillotines as well, and his coaches tell him stop going for the guillotine, and he doesn't fucking do it. He does it the first thing coming out that second round. So Dustin Poirier is a veteran. He's aware in the octagon, and maybe he saw something that the coaches didn't, and Benoit was giving him an opportunity for a guillotine, and he almost got it the last time he tried it in the second round. And what is it called? You miss the shots you don't take, you could say. So the opportunity was there. I get it why he took it. And the only question, or the only thing that sucked was, well, you're probably exerting a lot of energy into that guillotine, trying to get that squeeze. So, but yeah, Benoit was just putting it on him, doing real well. And Dustin Poirier, he did what he did on Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler was bull rushing him, smothering him, and he gave him a little distance. Benoit gave him a little distance, caught him, bink, hits him with the body as well. Then after that, and then I forgot how the exchange goes, and then Benoit's leaning a little bit towards the left, kind of like, I don't know if he was falling for a feint or something, I forgot. But then Dustin Poirier just comes with that right hook, right on the money, right on the chin. If you see that shit in slow motion, you can see the blood coming out of Benoit's face or nose or mouth, whatever. Beautiful, picture perfect knockout. Benoit goes to sleep, night, it's over, lights out. And that's how you fucking do it. That's how Dustin Poirier needed to win. And he gambled on himself. He said, everyone thought he was the underdog. Everyone thought he was going to lose. He was the underdog. Everyone, clearly, since he was the underdog, he rolled the dice on himself, man. And you love to see that shit. That he said, hell no. If I get this knockout and beat this boogeyman that no one wants to fight, if I beat him, knock his ass out. These guys are busy in April. I could find myself in a title shot. And he took that chance. And brother, you got to give it to Dustin Poirier, man. You got to give him his title shot. But yeah, Dustin Poirier does well. And I mean, that's who he is. And people tended to forget that Dustin Poirier is the fucking truth, man. Like, let's talk about, what he's accomplished, as a fighter in the UFC. Because I'm pretty sure people know how good Dustin Poirier is. But if you remove Khabib, Charles, Islam, if he'd be able to, make a good run, like Dustin's resume in the division is fucking crazy. Let's talk about it, man. So he has beaten, I'm going to just go over some big names. Let's see. He's beat Anthony Pettis, has beat Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, Max Holloway. He lost to Khabib. He beat Dan Hooker. He beat Conor McGregor. Knocked out Conor McGregor for the first time ever in Conor McGregor's career. Knocked him out. And then he beats someone that and where he breaks his leg. He loses to Charles Oliveira, unfortunately. He beats the shit out of Michael Chandler. And then he gets knocked out by Justin Gaethje. And then he beats Benoit Saint-Denis and ends Benoit Saint-Denis' streak as well. So, you know, you have big names on your under your belt. Max, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, Benoit Saint-Denis, and then the fights that you have put against these other guys. You know, he had a good performance against Khabib. He had a good performance against Charles Oliveira, just couldn't get it done, but very, very close both times when he fought for the title. So he has a really, really good resume, and he has accomplished so much in the division. He's a fucking legend. Joe Rogan said it best. He's a legend, and that's what legends fucking do. And he fucking went out there and did legend shit, you know? And again, I know when you think about it, well, this is his third title shot. He just lost Justin Gaethje. You know, about a year or more ago, he lost to Charles Oliveira for the title. But the thing is, Islam Makhachev wants to fight in fucking June, and it pisses me off. It pisses me off, guys. It makes me mad. But because, it makes me mad because Arman is fighting at 300, Charles is fighting at 300, and Justin Gaethje is fighting at 300. And those guys are going to go to wars with their fucking opponents. And he wants to fight one of them in June. Like, come on, bro. There's just not enough time for preparation. So, yes, give Dustin Poirier his title shot. Right place at the right time. He knocked out Benoit Saint-Denis. He has all of March to recover, all of April to recover and get into camp, all of May, and then we fucking run it in June with Islam Makhachev. I mean, he'll be a heavy underdog against Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev has yet to defend his title against a 155er, bro. And he's been the champ for almost a year, if not a year already. And he can't defend his title against a 155er yet. Can't blame him for the second fight too much, but a little bit. Because it should have been against another 155er, but I get it. You want to make more money with Volt for the UFC, da-da-da-da. Right. So, that's that. Yeah, man. Dustin Poirier gave him his title shot against Islam Makhachev in June. No one's going to be ready. If Islam Makhachev is as good as he thinks he is, as his fucking annoying-ass fans think that Islam Makhachev will mule everybody, because I said that. Islam Makhachev is not that guy because of resume. And people say, oh, well, he'll run through everybody else. All right, let him get started with fucking Dustin Poirier now. Let me see him do good against Dustin Poirier. Let me see how that fight looks. Fucking Dustin Poirier's on cloud 9 right now. Fucking last title shot ever. It's probably be his last fight of the career, no matter what happens. Telling me that fight wouldn't be fucking good. And he'll give Islam Makhachev a good run for his fucking money. It would be crazy. The exchange, the striking would be crazy. Those guys are really good strikers, both of them. So, yeah, you got to run it with Islam. There's just no exceptions. If I don't get that fight in June, I'm going to be fucking pissed. Because Arman, Charles, or Justin Gaethje will not be ready. Justin Gaethje is going to go to war with Max Holloway. Max Holloway looks like a fucking beast. Charles Oliveira and Arman, that fight could be lights out for either guys in any moment, or we can get a fucking war. So I don't know what that fight's going to look like. So, yeah, you know, run it. Run it with Islam. Run it with Islam in June. That's that. And for Benoit, I mean, you lost to a fucking legend, bro. You did real good. You jumped. You went from the 11th. You know, you're 11th ranked, and you just fought like the number 2, number 3 guy. So, you know, there's still a long list for you to basically get through. And, I mean, hopefully we can see Benoit in the future. He's a really good guy. Fight fucking Gamrot. Give him a run for his money. He'd be talking crazy. All right, fuck, you know, Benoit and Gamrot, run that shit. So, we'll see it. But yeah, that was that fight, which that fight to me was like my favorite fight on the card, to be honest with you, and just left me really happy. All right, so let's get to our main event. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera. This fight was awesome because it wasn't like a close fight at all. It was really one-sided, but it was awesome because we got to see a masterclass performance by Sugar Sean O'Malley. So let's talk about... let's see, what should we talk about first? You know, the fight being made, we kind of already talked about how that happened. And I said this, you know, Marlon Chito, he doesn't have any business fighting with Sugar Sean O'Malley. We all kind of knew that, right? You know, like, he shouldn't have fought Chito, but there was a storyline there. And I think things kind of played out in a favor for Sugar Sean, especially being the superstar that he is. I mean, I can see why they made the fight with Chito, because Chito's stock wasn't at the best, but it wasn't at the worst, and where you could make that fight and still sell a lot of pay-per-views. And he did that. And if it was going to happen, it needed to happen right away with Chito. Because what if he does beat Merab and then he beats these other guys and Chito's now ranked like 12 or 13? It doesn't make any sense for the champion to fight a 12, 13 ranked guy. You know, let's say he's like also like on a 2-fight losing streak. Like, that just doesn't make sense. People are going to say shit about Sean. But, you know, Chito still being ranked 5, or even prior to that, whether it was 6 or 7, that he's still ranked high enough to make a fight against Chito. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. It makes sense. Maybe a lot of people will be upset. Oh, he should fight Aljamain, like I was upset. He could fight Merab. I know a lot of people were upset about that. Like, yeah, you could have made those fight happen. But if you wanted to make a lot of money on something now that you possibly wouldn't be able to capitalize, and also, too, for Sugar Sean's career, like, he wanted this win back. He wanted it back. And I was like, let me get this shit out the way real quick. Fucking beat this guy's ass and then continue with my championship reign. So it made sense why it happened so soon. Like, it just makes sense because, like I said, let's say Sugar Sean loses the title, and then no one's really as excited for Sugar Sean and Chito anymore. Let's say Chito loses 3 fights in a row, and Sugar Sean has defended his title successfully 2 times now, right? And it's like, well, why would you make the fight with Chito? You're just going to fucking beat the shit out of him. Like, we all know that. He doesn't deserve a title shot. So when you look at the bigger picture, it makes sense why they made the fight happen. And it is what it is, man. You know, Merab won his fight, so he's next in line. But yeah, that's kind of, you know, the fight itself and how it happened. And I'm not upset that it happened. I know some people are, but also I will say that the Ecuadorian fans came through for Chito, and that was awesome that they were rooting for Chito and for their guy like that. And I remember when the fight came, you could just hear like Chito, and then USA. It was crazy, man. It was awesome. It was awesome to hear that atmosphere, and that Chito was able to basically bring all these fucking Ecuadorians or just Hispanics together to root for him and be unnoticed. You know, he put the arena on notice, and the fans, like, everywhere in Vegas were crazy. So he was able to bring all those people and get those people invested in, and they were all behind him. So it was pretty awesome to see all that shit happen. And I was kind of curious to see how it was going to play out, like if it was going to affect Sugar's performance or Chito's performance. But clearly it didn't really do much for either one. If anything, it made Chito just a little bit more durable and gave him more heart in there. But, you know, to talk about the fight, you know, Sean did what he has done to his previous opponents, except for Petr Yan, right? But everyone else, he has just beat them up. Beat him up. And how many times have we seen Sugar just do that to his opponents, what he did to Chito? For Chito, it sucked because he did it for 5 rounds. Other times, Sugar Sean he beats the shit out of you and then he knocks you out. But Chito is a tough motherfucker, man. I don't know how he did not get put out. I just don't know how he has that chin on him, and how he was able to survive that punishment. But masterclass by Sugar Sean, like I told you guys on the last episode, like his footwork, his movement, his feints, everything, man. Everything is crazy to Sugar Sean. And then when I went back and watched his fights, I was like, man, this guy Sean O'Malley's pretty fucking good. And, you know, his ground game defense is underrated, you know, and it's going to get tested against Merab, and I'm looking forward to that. But he's just really good in every part of the fight, and obviously his striking is one of the best, no question. But he does a lot of things good, and I think it goes very unnoticed because of the hair and all the flashiness that Sugar Sean has behind him. But there's a lot of things that he does well, and they don't get the recognition that it deserves. But he's a fucking beast, man. And he put out a show and put out a performance to show why he's the better guy and why he's a champion. That was a champion performance. So it was just beautiful to see, to be honest with you. And for Chito, I mean, he had good moments, and he pushed Sugar Sean O'Malley in some weird spots sometimes. But just not enough. Not enough. I thought Chito was going to do a little bit more. I thought he was going to be like, fuck it, a lot more. But it seemed like he was a bit scared and respected Sean O'Malley way too much and just kind of got his ass handed to him. So that was that. And I mean, there's really nothing much to say about that fight just because how one-sided it was. I know Sugar Sean O'Malley was upset that he didn't get the knockout, and I get it, you know. I get that he didn't get that knockout, and it was tough for him because I bet his ego was like, you motherfucker, right? But he did a lot of good things in the fight. You know, one thing that stood out to me was the pace, to keep that pace up for 5 rounds. And he said it himself, you know, on his YouTube video, like when you can say it's kickboxing, he can go 5 rounds all day. But once you start mixing it up with the takedowns and things like that, that's where he gets real tired. And we saw that in the Petr Yan fight. So I think this fight was really good, and it puts him in a really good spot. And to know what it feels like when you're going into the 5th round, when people are going crazy, you're the main event. And now that he's been there, he's aware that he can do it again, and he knows what it's like. And he doesn't have to face that fight itself when he fights someone like Merab, which is a lot more to handle. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things that he can take out the fight. His cardio was awesome. He's aware if it's Muay Thai or kickboxing, you could say he can do that shit all day. And he'll probably just he'll make his adjustments, things like that when he fights Merab. But yeah, just championship performance, championship or champion, whatever. Yeah, he did good. And he has to fight Merab next. There's just no doubt. I know he called out Aaliyah. It makes sense. That fight will sell you a lot of pay-per-views, but Aaliyah just won the title. He hasn't defended his title once. The only one that they let this shit happen to was Islam Makhachev, which I think ruined a lot of stuff, because now these champions are trying to go up as soon as they win the title, and it doesn't make any sense, right? So they kind of fucked up with Islam, and it kind of sucks also too, because, you know, with the division, things like that. But anyways, Sugar Sean O'Malley calls out Aaliyah, but then he kind of he says, well, if you guys want me to knock out Merab, I'll do that too. Because he kind of knows that he needs to squash that with Merab and get that shit out the way already too. Because people have been asking for that fight, and Merab has been consistently performing, and he deserves a title shot. He's been deserving a title shot for a while now. So he has to fight Merab. No doubts at all. Just no questions. He has to fight Merab. If he fights Merab and beats Merab, and Aaliyah beats Volkanovski again, run it with Aaliyah Topuria. Make it happen. But Aaliyah Topuria needs to defend his title one time, and he has to do it against Volkanovski. No questions asked. Sugar Sean O'Malley got away with the not as tough opponent for his first title defense, which makes sense. He found himself in a good situation, and for the UFC. But now you got to fight a real heavy contender that will give you a good run for your money. And as far as right now, the betting lines, you know, he's the underdog into that fight. So you have to take the fight with Merab and challenge himself. And I think that's just the harder fight for him at the moment. And I mean, that's the fight in your division. So he doesn't need to look elsewhere. He has enough business to take care of in his own division, and he needs to fight Merab. And I hope we can see that fight like in the late summer, hopefully. So hopefully they can make that shit happen, man. And for Chito, he showed fucking heart. I mean, he did well. He showed heart. He showed up for his people. He came through for his people. No one expected him to go 5 rounds. So fuck, man. I know, like, it sucks to lose, but he did well. He had good moments. He got that fucking body shot at the end that was about to finish Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think if Chito, maybe, right? We don't know. But I think he could have done some damage there, and it would have been crazy to see. But, you know, it was too late. And, again, he should be happy with that performance. I don't know what never mind. But I was happy the fans showed up for Chito and showed his support, and he made Ecuador proud. So, happy for him there. Fuck. And also, I don't know what the beef is between Chito and Sugar Sean. You know, apparently Chito told Tim that they're still not friends or something along those lines. I don't know, right, what's going on. But it sucks that we didn't really see that sportsmanship at the end. I really wish I saw it. Like, I would have loved to see them hug it out and give mad respect to each other and just talk really good about each other at the end of the fight. And we didn't get that. So I don't know what the beef is there or what the drama is, and I get a lot of people don't like Sugar Sean O'Malley. Maybe, to me, he seems a bit arrogant. He seems like kind of full of himself, and, that's just me from the outside, but I won't deny the fact that he's the fucking truth in the octagon. But, not really acknowledging Merab in the backstage, things like that. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't like those vibes from Sugar Sean, but maybe he's just in his own world doing his own thing, man. So, that was UFC 299, man. It was a fucking banger. It was awesome. And, people are, I don't know. People are upset about UFC 300, right? I saw some tweets about UFC 300, and I'm like, bro, we literally just got done with UFC 299, and it was a fucking banger. And UFC 300 is we're getting 2 pay-per-views in one. The prelims is literally a pay-per-view card. We have Yuri and whoever on the last prelim fight. Like, that shit could be a main event. Obviously wouldn't be that prelims is better than fucking UFC 297 that we had in January with with Sean Strickland and Drake's Duplessis. Like, bro, the prelims are fire. The main card's fire. I don't give a shit what nobody has to say. And anyone who's fucking hate on 300, get the fuck out my face. Man, people are mad about Bo Nickel being ahead of Armand and Charles. Who fucking cares? Who cares? I want Charles to win the fight. I don't care if he wins it. If he's the first fight, the last fight, the second, third, the third fight, I want Charles to beat Armand Sarukian for he can get his title against Islam. I don't care about anything else. I don't care. And people who care about how is Bo Nickel ahead of Armand Sarukian, who gives a fuck? Who cares, bro? Appreciate the card. Appreciate the UFC. If Charles wins his fight, he gets a title shot. If Armand wins his fight, he gets a title shot. No questions asked. Whether it's the first fight, the last fight, the main fight, the co-fight, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. So people need to shut up with this negativity about 300 and stop complaining about the fucking card and just appreciate it. Because UFC 299 delivered, and 300, we're going to be watching UFC from fucking 6 p.m. Central Time all the way till midnight. 6 hours of pure bangers. And people still have the audacity to complain about UFC 300. Get the fuck out of my face. This was episode 299. I hope you got... 200. This was episode 200. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Sorry this one was long, but it was awesome.